I want to welcome you here on behalf of Niche and the Wilson Institute for Canadian History. It's a wonderful opportunity for both of us to do something together, to take a field, if possible, with your cooperation to another level. It's a rare opportunity in any field in Canada to do such a thing as this. So I hope we will all make the best advantage of it, and in the course of it, have a little fun too.
Sure. I think it's amazing what Niche has done, because I really can't take credit, what Niche has done in the half cluster life that it's been going. I think having this meeting today, I kind of wish we'd had one a year all the way through so we could watch it just blossom. I think we need to talk sort of concretely strategies for where to next and how to make sure that we become a permanent fixture in the landscape. But I can't get over how big we've gotten and how everywhere we are so quickly.
At the end of April 2011, a group of more than 40 researchers in the fields of Canadian environmental history and historical geography met for an extraordinary workshop in Burlington, Ontario called EH+, Writing the Next Chapter of Canadian Environmental History, hosted by the Network in Canadian History and Environment and the Wilson Centre for Canadian History. All of the participants were required to write short one-page statements on the field of Canadian environmental history and its future prospects. Those statements were then posted to the Niche website and circulated in advance of the meeting. Over the course of 2.5 days, the participants met to discuss those statements along with 3 commissioned papers. Those papers focused on 3 themes: the state of Canadian environmental history in Canada, the state of the field internationally, and the role of environmental history research in public policy formation. Each of these papers was discussed, and the themes carried our discussions and conversations throughout the workshop. Participants were particularly interested in how environmental history research can reach wider audiences and possibly affect public policy.
As you saw what happened to Stefan this morning, we practically silenced the authors of these papers. This is one of the points in this. You having done that, we move on, and I think that's, if I could just say, that is at least part of my way of thinking about these. The discussion should build upon the paper rather than focus on a critique of the paper. So I hope you don't feel that we're going to ignore you if we spend the entire afternoon talking about something that you didn't write about.
Go first. Well, I have two observations. First of all, the discussion I found fascinating just for the stories of people actually engaging in public policy to a degree that maybe has been hidden. So when people are bemoaning the fact that we don't participate, I don't think that's altogether true. And the other impression I took from it is one of our main goals, I think, should be to make our work more public. And by making our work more public as possible, then other avenues such as public policy effectiveness and influence will happen on its own.
And for me, what I took away from that discussion is that environmental historians are already doing a lot to engage the public. They're working with the public. We talked about the oral histories that Stephen High and the oral history program at Concordia are doing with members of traumatized communities. That's not only documenting their history, but it's, I believe, helping with the healing process of working through the trauma of experiences in Darfur, Bosnia, Holocaust survivors. And so I think those are really positive developments, and we should be encouraged by the potential to do that kind of thing with the public.
I think the one point that I've been bringing up again and again this weekend is this dissonance between local history research or our entry point into environmental history research, which is so often the local, the regional, the watershed, the river, the town, the city. And the dissonance between doing those sorts of research and then trying to translate that into a national audience or an international audience, and trying to find the connections between the two and the way the two work together. And it is very difficult, and it ties into what we've been talking about policy, because we've really discovered that we impact policy most often when we talk about the things that we know the best. And the things we know the best are those local, regional issues that we've studied, particularly for those of us who've written dissertations on it or done major research projects, to then turn around and say, well, but we're not affecting broad policy on a national basis. Well, maybe not, but we are affecting them on those local and regional levels, and I think we should celebrate that and appreciate that just a little bit more.
Well, we've just come out of a discussion about public policy and reaching the public, and I mean, for me, I think that's one of the most important things to do. But the question is, do you do that through policy, or do you do that through actually contact with your public? And for me, I think it's a question of citizenship and engagement and actually talking directly to the public rather than trying to deal with policymakers. I think that's a difficult route, and I think that was a lot of the discussion was about sort of that difficulty of talking the language of policymakers and what the disadvantages and advantages of engaging with policymakers and of direct contact with public. And I mean, in my own experience, I find I haven't actually engaged with policymakers, but have had success, and will continue to pursue reaching out to the public. I think that's where we can really make a difference.
I had never been to a conference or workshop of this kind. It was indeed a rare opportunity to survey the state of this subfield of historical scholarship and make concrete plans for its future directions. In the end, I felt that a lot of discussion and debate was started, and some specific projects were established, but the long-term impact of this event will be the continued conversation among participants about the future direction of Canadian environmental history.